So I'm from Sli.do. This is Sli.do. We might even use Sli.do. Perhaps you already know that you can ask questions through Sli.do. You can use that as well. Maybe somebody is going to be online as well. But I'm going to also use it to ask you some questions. I have some polls prepared. It's going to be easy. But you feel free to also speak up, to raise your hand, to ask a question anytime during the session or the presentation. So I'm gonna speak about 3 things. So first I'm gonna briefly speak about my career path and I got to the job of happiness manager. Then I'm gonna speak about our team, about the Sli.do company, just very briefly, and then about what you think makes people happy at work. Because the one thing that I want to start with is that for sure I don't think that I'm some kind of a guru and we're the best company in being happy at work. Not at all. Nothing is ideal. Nor am I the best person to speak about happiness at work. But maybe we can come up together with some ideas. Maybe even I will be the one inspired by this session. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so just very briefly, in IBM, I'm going to come to that as well. I'm part of the people operations team, which is basically a startup way to say HR, because we have to be different, so we don't use HR, but we have people operations. And for me, that's a very important team, because also speaking about happiness, I don't think it's a job for one person. I don't even think it's a job for a single team inside a company. It has to be something that is the thing of everyone included in the company. So, but together with this people ops team, we try to take care of our people in many ways. It's also about hiring, about organizing events, and also meetings, one-on-ones with people, with leads, with like everyday things. So my career, I'm gonna start with a poll. Let's hope this works. What do you think I studied at university? So if you join Sli.do.com and use the hashtag #InspireMe, you should be able to vote. Maybe somebody already knows.
Biology?
No. Biology. Okay.
Design.
I'm going to show the results. We have already some votes. Oh, nice. All right, I'm going to keep it running so you can change. The truth is design. I studied design, but people usually when they see me they think it's IT or maybe that I'm kind of a scientist. But no, that's not right. I studied design, and the funny thing, when I was well done, good guess. When I was choosing my path, I also visited a psychologist, and she was asking me what I like to do, and I said that I like to draw, and she was asking me questions, and then at the end she said, okay, you could be a designer, but I think better would be if you would do some human oriented job. And I was like, what's human oriented? Like, I didn't understand what that means at 18 years, and I thought, looking back at my school, I don't like maths, I like to draw, so I'm a designer. But really understanding now more deeply what that means, working with people and finding joy in that, I think I would choose differently, but still I really had a good time also studying design, because it's kind of a hype now around design thinking, and I believe this is something that helped me also throughout my career, the attitude of design thinking, because I believe the core of design thinking is trying to understand the problem, the item that I'm designing, especially people around me. So I believe this is something that I'm using also every day in my work. So I started with design. What would you choose instead of design? I'm gonna respond right away. You know what? Maybe even being a doctor. For example, my mother, she's a doctor, and I always thought it's like being good in chemistry and biology. But when I was young, I didn't understand that it's about caring for people and helping them. So maybe that. I'm also one of my big passions is sports. So maybe even something with that. Thanks for the question. So after I finished my studies, during those studies I understood that it drives me more to work with people than objects. The people I find much more interesting than objects. So I thought I'm going to shift a bit. And after some time I started working in IBM because I thought that's a big company full of people, so I can work with people. And we just spoke about it. It was like maybe 5 years ago, probably. And I worked in Poles at that time. And to be honest, it was a nice time because I've met some really amazing people, like Euka here, one of the people from those times. And one of my best friends is also from IBM. And it helped me a lot to understand how the teams are working, how some certain processes at work are working as well. So it gave me a lot of knowledge. After the time, I was kind of depressed that I didn't use my studies for anything. So I came to a point when I wanted to try out all the knowledge from design, and I wanted to start a freelance. So I did. I left IBM after 2 years, and I started freelancing as a designer. And it helped me to understand that it's not exactly for me, from certain reasons. One of them was the objects and working behind a computer every day with objects, not as much with people. Another thing that I wasn't too good in managing my own time at the time, especially. So as a young person trying to take care of himself, it was a tough time for me, and I understood that I cannot make money like that and not make living for a family. I was starting a family at the time, so I was searching for other opportunities and jobs, and I ended up working for it was like a startup place for young startupists. The place was called Cluster House. Paul knows it. It was basically like a hub for young startups, small companies. And I ended up there helping those people and taking care of those companies. It was something that I really enjoyed, like being there for the people, helping them with the contracts, anything, and taking care also of the place. And at that time, also the CEO of Sli.do met me, and he enjoyed the way I work. So that one day he came and offered me a job if I want to help them part-time, working with them. And at that time I felt like, okay, maybe I don't even need it because I was happy where I was. But what happened is that some things changed, and the person responsible for the cluster house, for the hub, gave it to somebody else. Because there was some agreement, and he called me, okay, let's meet. And then he said to me, you have a week to go and then we're going to kick you out. I was like, oh my god. So at the time I was already married, and I called to the CEO of Sli.do and asked him, can we do full time as well, maybe? Yeah. And he was happy. His response really got me by heart, because he said, I'm sorry for what happened to you. I think it's unfair, but at the same time I'm very happy that we can have you on board. So I started to work at Sli.do, and that's the second part of the journey. And I'm going to ask a question related to Sli.do and to the company. How many meetings and events worldwide do you think use Sli.do every week, or the last week? This is particularly the last week. You can take a guess, maybe you know.
3,500.
Yes, that's correct. 3,500. So just the past week. So that's a lot of meetings and events worldwide, and you need people for that. A lot of people. At this time, there is around 125 people at Sli.do. We are 6 years old, so and I'm in Sli.do for 3 years. That means I came during the halfway, and it was total different story than the first 3 years. Because the first 3 years, that's the real thing, the real startup life, like earning no money, spending your own money to get something started. So just from what I heard, that was the real tough thing. And when I onboarded, there were like 15 people already in the company. So everything was kind of working well. There was a salary monthly, which was not so common before that. And since that time, so we grew from around 15 people to 120 that we have now. And many things changed, but what we try to preserve is, in a way, the culture that was there in the beginning. But I'm not saying that this is ideal. I'm not saying startup life is the best and working for a bigger company is not, because we have our own issues, and we always have our own issues. For example, sometimes we're careful about having a policy for something. Like, no, let's not have a policy, just discuss. But then you don't know how is something done. Like you need something, you need it from someone, but you don't know who. It would happen even that there was a job and 2 different teams were doing on one job, but they didn't know about each other. So communication is quite a challenge for such a young company, and for sure we're gonna need policies even more in the future. We do have also some values that we try to always come back to, and those are simply clever, don't stop, and we care. These 3 values, everything we try to build around them. So, simply clever, it's obvious. Don't stop, but you should have the drive to continue to always improve, and we care about each other, about our clients, about our families. So this is something that we also have the values like on the wall, and we try to come back to that all the time. Okay, so what is my role in the company? This is something that changed, that evolved as well. I started working with clients, as everyone in Sli.do does. Also, a developer coming into our company, he needs to have that onboarding time when he's on chats, on emails, on calls, working with clients. This helps him to understand the tool, does it work, and also helps to understand our clients and their needs. That's a question. One-on-one, yes. And that's another topic. Como is our boss, our CEO, and he meets every person that comes to our company. He's at the end of the HR hiring process. So usually we start with getting an email, then meeting one-on-ones. Several people are meeting with the newcomer, and at the end always Como is also meeting this person. And I have to say, he's pretty good in knowing if the person is the right fit or not. Usually.
After that lunch?
After that, it's a legendary lunch.
Be careful what you order.
Yeah. So thank you for the question as well. So my role changed a bit. I also started working with the clients, doing a lot of chats. I was working with clients for a year and a couple of months. And during those times, it was when the company was growing really fast. And naturally, I started leaning towards helping not just the clients, but our people. It was kind of natural for me to take care about people around me. And also because what we believe is also very closely linked with happiness is also the space, maybe, the workspace. So the office as well. So this was something that I was taking care of as well, because as well I was a designer, so I knew what's good and what's not in the office. So I had like these 2 agendas. I'm still working with clients as well, and this was changing a lot during those times, and I more and more I was working with our people and less with the clients. And I do have now a question regarding happiness. What are the 3 most important things for you at work? If somebody maybe wants to speak up. Yeah.
Team,
Mm-hmm.
challenge, and I believe salary.
Mm-hmm. Gonna check the answers. Okay. Good. Yes, I totally agree that team is one of the most important. Everything in this is really important for how you feel at work, but definitely team, and also for us, one of the most important things. It's that thing that makes you happy at work, that makes you happy in the morning when you wake up and you're going to meet your colleagues. This is the most important thing, to have a team that's working well. And at the same time also we discover more and more that a real challenging work. Because if it's a boring thing and you might even have an amazing team, you will not last for long, because every person needs some kind of a challenge. So definitely also, of course, salary, some benefits, and having a great office helps. Is there one thing you? Yes, I would need to take a look more closely to walk around. But what we, for example, discovered for us, what works, is not having open spaces. Not a surprise. It's something that we discovered speaking with our people. Like, we really needed to understand design thinking, how they like to work, and we understood that the maximum number for our people is around 10 people in the office, because everybody needs some kind of quiet, their own space as well. But I know there are some teams where open offices work more. Like, for example, in our case, we do have like customer care people, and they're more extroverted, open. They would like to chit chat a lot. And then we have developers. They would enjoy having their own room, 0.5 meters, and just being home.
So how does the workspace look like in Sli.do? There are offices or?
Mm-hmm. I should bring a picture of that. But I think it's also, we have some pictures online at our page as well. And but how it looks is that we have many offices. There are a maximum of 10 people, and then we have many calling meeting rooms. There are usually one-on-one people, because we do have also many calls with clients when the person just needs to close herself in a room and call with the client, or we do have many one-on-ones with people. So, and then we have our own event space that is for like 120 people. We have now our own floor in Post Tower. The 8th floor belongs to us, and the full floor is like
for conferences and that kind of?
Mm-hmm. But all of you are free to come to visit. We can show you around. So, thanks for the question. And I started speaking about those one-on-ones. This is something that really we believe is at core at happiness, is that to understand your people, and not just like a bunch of people, but as individuals. I was lucky enough to attend a special course for hockey trainers, because I wanted to make a license for me. I'm an amateur. I was never a professional hockey player, but I wanted to make a hockey license, and there was Jan Fields speaking. You probably know he's the trainer of the champions from those past days. And he was also speaking a lot about working in a team and the importance to understand every player as a person. And this is something that we try to do a lot in Sli.do, to have these one-on-ones with everyone between team leaders and their people, between the HR or the people in operations and the people, and also themselves between them. And this is something that I do more and more. Is just that I schedule meetings one-on-ones. It's really at core to understand every person as an individual, to understand his needs, to be able to design things, to process the right design for how the company works, how the team works. And also the CEO does it a lot. He gives the example of that he's speaking a lot with other people. And for us also, a nice inspiration is the sport team, because we believe this is how the company should work as well, is as a sport team. For a long time we were thinking or discerning between if we want to be family-like or something else, and we understood that we are not a family. We're very good close friends, but at the same time you need to have some results, exactly as in a sport team. Because if somebody is not performing enough, you can give them time, you can understand what's going on in their lives, maybe you don't have to kick them out right away, but at the same time it's not just happy clappy, anyone who wants to come in and you don't have to work, there has to be some results. So this analogy of sports team is something that works a lot for us.
Which sport?
So team sports. So if it's a football team, if it's a hockey team, if it's American football, there are also many inspiring people who are trainers, and you can learn a lot from them how to be a good manager of people. And it's really a common thing nowadays that the most successful teams, for example in football, that the coaches, they know their people, they know their families, they understand what's going on, and they're open in discussion when a player comes and he says, that's exactly what Jan Fields was saying, that if his player came to the team, for example Žigo Palfi, and said, don't put me up today, I feel terrible, he understood that that's the right message, because there was this open communication, and he didn't put him into the team playing that day. So this is something that works also for us. And as I said before, it's not completely ideal, and we do have some problems. We do have some problems between our people, between maybe the leaders and the team, but everything is open, and we try to really encourage people to discuss openly things. And this is something that I believe makes people happy, because happiness is not just smiling and clapping. It's the core feeling, how you feel every day in your work. It's the feeling of being challenged. It's the feeling of being open with your team. That's for me, it's the true happiness. It's not only about the smiles, but about being peaceful, being content, being challenged, as I mentioned. Which are the advice you would give to the manager leaders of corporation at IBM? I'm not sure if I'm the best for this, but I can speak openly about my time in IBM. I met many good people. I met several very good managers, but I also met managers that I didn't like as much. But my fault was not telling them. I left IBM without telling the person that was really on my nerves that I didn't like the way he treats people. And that's my fault. And I would definitely encourage managers, leaders, to do those one-on-ones, not just seeing the results, like how you're doing, but also asking about your personal life, understanding the team, how it works, and receive feedback. Ask for the feedback. Not just give feedback to your people, but also ask for the feedback. Maybe that's happening. I'm sure that some managers do that here as well. I think that's really important. Did that answer the question? Or is there any follow-up? Okay. So, yeah. Happiness. What do you think? What is happiness for you? What makes you really happy at work? Maybe even some of the things that we didn't mention in the poll. Paul?
Did you say Paul? What are some things that make us happy at work?
Or you make you happy?
A good lunch.
Coffee.
No. I think really kind of it of course is the core. Your team. Because it can be a single individual, and if it's just literally about being around that person, it can be such a negative experience that it will outweigh any success, anything you're doing. So having those good natural vibes between your teammates and as you said, your managers, that's definitely number one in my book. And then, yeah, we know why salary was second, but it is of course doing fulfilling work. If you're, and maybe that's perception that needs to be worked on, because in corporations as such, there's lots of people that feel that maybe they aren't working in something so fulfilling, but it has to be really looking at the big picture and what influence you have in your team. It can be small goals. It doesn't have to be wanting to be the CEO of a company. So in a sense, that's where we're responsible for our own happiness, because if we set some unattainable kind of targets, then you'll of course never be happy, because you just keep striving for something that you can't actually reach.
Yeah. At the same time, this is something that also where the one-on-ones help. Like, we had several situations when we hired someone. We thought, for example, that this guy is going to be a customer person, he's going to speak with the clients, and he ended up being a tester, so testing the application, and he found his dream job, and he's so happy. And it was also by understanding of the leader, of the CEO, that okay, this guy is not so good here, but he has good talents for this other job. And I believe this can be done also in IBM, any kind of a team, to understand the people that you have, and their talents, their weaknesses.
You mentioned a couple of times that the leaders should have one-to-ones with their employees, but I also think employees should initiate this one-to-one.
Definitely.
So it's not only waiting for me and being unhappy that my leader is not interested in me, without knowing reasons probably why. So I just go and ask for it if I really need it.
That's amazing advice, definitely. I do it as well. Like, our CEO, he sleeps 5 hours a day. And
That's more than usual.
that's what he has. And he works a lot. But sometimes I just go and ask him, give me feedback. Like, what do you think where I am now? What I'm doing good, what I'm doing wrong? That's a good start. Yeah, like, I really do believe every one of us is in a way responsible for their own happiness. So, like, really going for that, asking those questions is really important.
How do you find those talents in yourself? It's the guy who's supposed to be the communicator and ended up as the tester. So how did he see it himself?
It was a combination. Yeah, he knew for himself that he sucks at what he was doing, so that's a good start. And he helped for it. He asked for advice, and then there were around him people who had this knowledge, like what can be done, and to spot those talents, you need like really experienced people for that. Wise people.
Is there any way you would recommend to start looking for those talents in ourselves? Like, how do you start looking for them?
Yeah, I mean, for sure there are many ways. I'm doing that as well. Every day I'm asking myself, is this the right job that I'm doing? For example, as I mentioned, I had a passion. I enjoy a lot working with young people and with kids, and that's why I went for the course to become an ice hockey trainer. And I'm gonna do that hopefully by my job. So not full time. Start doing that, but yeah, it's that searching inside yourself and asking other people around you how they perceive you, what is their advice for you, and this helps me a lot personally. And there are many smart people out there giving good advice. like many couches, also videos on YouTube. You can find a lot about maybe some advice how to understand better yourself. That's a good start for anything. But at the same time, this is something that I learned. It's okay because the real goal is not what's on the end, but it's the journey. So yeah, I don't mind, taking time to find out something about myself if it makes me happy in a point. And also those detours that we're taking, that helps us to grow, helps us to become what we become. What do you think about measuring team happiness, or guys? Okay, do you do that as happiness measure, or how do you know you're successful in your job? That's a very good question, because happiness can be sometimes really abstract. When we do measure, we have every 2 months we have a barometer. We are sending a link on Sli.do, and there is a set of questions. How excited are you about your work? How do you think we are influencing the clients in our work? Do you think we are productive enough? And questions like this, and the people respond. And from that, you can also know how happy they are, but also how challenging the work is, and many things you will understand from that. But at the same time, not everybody responds. And the second part of this is having those one-on-ones and to understand. Because if you're speaking with someone regularly, you will know when he's unhappy. You should at least have an idea. Yeah.
So you do it monthly,
Bi-monthly.
and it's anonymous.
It's anonymous.
So then, how do you work with the results when you don't know who said? Maybe if you have some results that some bad results, and you don't know who it's from.
It's semi-anonymous because it's differentiated by teams. Like for example, designer teams vote, and you're gonna see that they're like half of the people are not happy, and then you start the conversations and you will know. But at the same time, we encourage our people to come themselves and speak with us, and if there is anything wrong. And I think they do that as well. Like if somebody is really not happy, they will let us know. How did you arrive to this case? I need to help with this one. Oh?
Cadence. What?
Oh, cadence. I do understand. With the barometer. This is because if it was more often, people would skip it more, we believe. Because when we are in the middle of the season, which is for example now, there is a lot of events happening around the world, many huge events in many big cities, and our people are going there to be on site to support those events. So it's like a week off, and they have not time for anything like the barometer, and they would skip it. So we try to think where is the best time to have it. Thanks. How many people submit out of those 120? In the last barometer that was run some time ago, it was like 80% people.
Yes.
Yeah. What is your advice for a team of 3 people responsible for happiness experiences of I would ask them for advice because that's but I know there was an event, HR event happening in I'm not sure if in Bratislava or Prague, and there was a person, a woman who's as well a chief happiness officer or something like that, working with Gary Vaynerchuk. And they have I think at least a big company like this, and she said the same thing, that what she does is meeting with people full time, and they also have a group of people. And we do have something like this. This is something that I didn't mention, and I think it's really important. We have a happiness crew in our company, and this is something that voluntarily anyone can join. So if you're in the US, if you're in Asia, if you're a developer, if you're a customer care person, anyone can join. And we do have regular meetings just between us. And we just discuss what do the people feel is going on in the team. And that's the best thing, because we have the information from the right people. And these people also try to take care of their surroundings, of their people in their teams. So one person can definitely not, or 3 people, I don't think that's enough. And it's also amazing to have people from those teams. Thank you for the question.
Could you also give some instances where your happiness crew has been able to like make a group of people unhappy to happy? What are the ways that you implement?
Yeah. So these people are usually those who by whom it's really natural to support if somebody is unhappy and to take care of people. This is why they joined in the first place. And we had some situation when, for example, somebody was not feeling included, like the part of the team. It was somebody who was working in a region alone, and just because they were speaking with those happiness people, we understood that, and that really helped us. It's just the first thing is to know about something. But also they are helping with. We are organizing like events for our own people regularly. For the whole company around Christmas, and also like in those regions, because we have some people in US, in London, in Asia, and every time those happiness crew people in those regions are organizing those small events for these people, also taking them out for a beer or anything. That's a very good thing as well.
Don't you think it's much easier when company size is smaller? How would you suggest it for a company like IBM, which is much bigger in size?
And honestly, I don't know. I'm trying to understand how this works, but it's also tough for us as we grew a lot. Like in the last year, we grew from 80 or 70 to 120. That's a lot of new people, and every new person is changing the environment. If you imagine 1,600 people, different people. So, Paul?
That's our team. That's why I asked the question. And I think the thing that Sli.do is a perfect example of this and being there. I know I think the key is the culture. And you're right, of course it's easier when you're starting with a group of 15, 20, 25, and you can try and keep, but you're still, as you just said, you're struggling to keep the culture with as more people come in. And that's one of the 3 areas that we focus on the most. And I think it's never going to be one person or one group of people. It's the biggest influencer is this, and we're not talking about literal culture, of course, we're talking about the company culture. And if you make happiness part of just that, as you said, it's individually up to us, then it has much more power than 3 people or 1 person trying to force this, you know.
Definitely. And what also came up into my mind is that it's also why hiring. It's also going to be about this one. Why hiring is one of the most important things in this, because as soon as you have a toxic person already in your team, then it's really tough to help the team. And also, you probably know Warren Buffett, one of the richest guys in the world. He says that hiring a person, there are 3 most important things. That's integrity, intelligence, and drive. And out of those 3, integrity is the most important thing. Because if the person has those other 2, so drive and intelligence, but not integrity, he's going to take you down. So always integrity is really important for us. And that's why those hiring processes in our company take so long. It's like there's sometimes the person is meeting 6 different people from different departments in our company till we make that decision. And usually we make a good decision, but it also happened in the past where we went wrong and it was not good. And you cannot have an ideal group of people working. There's always going to be some nuances, differences, so you're trying to shape. But those toxic people, it's always good to get rid of. Maybe that's a harsh word, but you probably understand. Because as in the sports club, you're responsible for the whole team, not just for the one person. And if the whole team suffers because of one person, you have to deal with that one person. What's the budget you have? Yeah, that's a good question. Depends. For some events, if that's a company-wide event happening every year, once per year, then we pay for everything. But of course, we try to find the best prices, not being out of this world, and try to keep the alcohol level down. And we do it all, but for example, we do it in our team. For example, when we go out, we pay ourselves. It's because it's not sometimes it's not about the company making pay for you for different things. Why just don't make our salaries higher? That's the important thing. I don't need them to pay my car and everything if the salary is high enough. So we do also pay our own bills sometimes, just because it's also our thing. The team spirit, the happiness of the team. So we take ourselves.
Okay, so for example, what's your future Christmas party? For example, where it's gonna be?
It's gonna
To have like.
It's gonna be in our office, and it's a tough one. But our CFO said that it's much more cheaper to change the carpet than to buy a place. So we're gonna have it in our own office, in that event space that we have. It's gonna be.
Is it the team?
Sorry?
Is it team for the party or
It's the whole team.
no?
The theme.
Oh, theme. I get it. Sorry. No, I hope not. I hate that. But
Santa's all over.
yeah. But again, it's what we did last time, or what we're gonna do this time again, is that we're gonna create teams responsible for different things, like theme. There's gonna be one team for I don't know, food and beverages. Other team. We're gonna do teams, and they will be responsible for creating the right atmosphere. And they do it usually very good. Another question: how do you check the integrity part? Yeah, that's a tough one. You need to. From my experience, I'm not doing interviews that much, but I was doing it in the past. And from my experience, what I know we try to do is understand the person out of something that he went through in the past. So this is usually the best example what he's going to do in the future. So you ask him about the past, what he was doing, if there was a tough situation with his manager, how did he cope with that, what he thinks about the manager. Asking these questions from the past, you can slightly understand what the person going to do in the future. So, and another interesting thing, for example, when we try to hire people taking care of clients, we try to find in them what they do above the norm. Like what is their interest? If they're really interested in helping people, do they do something outside their work, or they just go to bar every day? Understanding this helps a lot. If there's a person who's I don't know, visiting people in hospital or working with kids every day, gives you a good understanding of the values of the person, and usually it is a good fit. Also taking care of the clients. So this is something that we do.
What are the challenges, some of the challenges in your role that you face?
What are some of the challenges in my role? Oh, there are many. I do sometimes end up being caught in operations. So like, I'm also responsible for example, flight tickets, and I'm responsible for the office itself. And sometimes that's a lot of work, and ordering things and furniture, and you can really get caught up in that and stop speaking with people. So that's one of the challenges that I have. And by the way, being responsible for the office as a people person is amazing, because if you, for example, I'm the one who's hanging out the whiteboards in our office, and you can take someone with you. Like you seem like you're not doing anything, come and help me. And then you have a great time with that person. You can discuss anything. So that's what I'm usually doing. I'm taking people with me if I need to pick up something or hang something on the wall. Is there any question? Great. I think that's a good time we have.
12 more minutes. So if there are more questions,
I have a question. You mentioned that you were bad in time management with your brother. Are you using any practice technique now?
That's a very good
If
question.
you are better.
Yeah. So the question is if I improved in my time management, and honestly, slightly. But I can understand myself that I'm a certain type of person. You probably know those colors, like red person, like the choleric, yellow person being the sanguinic. And I'm this. I'm an open person, happy to talk with people, always taking care of how people feel around me. And I'm not so good with tasks, and I have to be at least a bit because I would suffer a lot. But I'm not the best in it for sure. And there is a book we were reading together in the company, which is called, I forgot the name. I'm bad in that as well. I will come up with the name of the book. But it was really about time managing and making a list of things every day. And I was in pain even reading that book. And there are some people who love it. Like, okay, I'm gonna put a sticker here and a sticker there. And so I'm trying my best. But at the same time, I know myself that I'm not the best person for time management.
Is there any practice from the book that you actually adapted?
Yes. It's really taking time for me, but slightly I am improving. And for example, I do have a list of things that I need to do this week, and I'm moving things like today and then done. But it takes a lot of
I
energy
read
from me.
something similar. It's called Eat the Frog. This is how it's called.
This one is not Eat the Frog, but
Yeah, this is how it's called. So you make the list, you make priority list, and you eat the frog first. You did the ugly part first.
yeah, that's a good advice.
And tracing?
I'm sure there are many books, and I'm gonna try to keep away from that.
But do send us a title.
Yes, I will send you the title. I for sure today even. And but I'm not saying this is something bad and that people shouldn't improve. We should improve in any struggle that we have. At the same time, improve in those things that we are good at, but also those that we need to improve. How do you support work-life balance? Sli.do. It depends. It depends. For example, me, I'm a totally family guy person. I have my wife, I have my son, and I love them. And it's tough for me to leave them every morning. So I try to spend as much time as possible. But at the same time, when I'm in work, I try to be focused on work. There are some people in the company that don't have family, and they are fully focused on their work. We don't put a barrier, but we ask them. Of course, we take care about those as well. And when we see that somebody is like working too much, then we're gonna give them feedback, because you can burn yourself out for sure. How many hours you work weekly as a happiness manager? Okay, so it's my job, so full time. But at the same time, like really giving that time to happiness and to colleagues, I could be around 30 to 40%. The other part is those operation stuff and some other tasks that I have the office as well. We definitely need to improve that in my case. Like focus more on happiness and less on some other things that can be done by somebody else.
Are you a happiness manager like one-on-ones? That's the role? That's what you do? have one-on-one, or what do you
Do
do
you
as?
count also the putting boards up to the
It's a combination. I could even say that I'm an office manager as well, but it's being an happiness manager for us is those one-on-ones. I'm also responsible for that happiness crew, and I'm also being part of the people operations team. So even topics like culture, hiring, I'm included. I work together with my colleagues on that as well.
Do you feel like people appreciate your role at work? Do they feel like it's something that was missing before?
It's a question for them, for sure. But I do feel that we have a good relationship with all the people in the company, and I feel appreciated, for sure. I have some good feedback, but at the same time, there are some moments when I discover that it could be done better.
You must be the golden treasure for the management. Because
No.
you know a lot of stuff from the people and you can help manager to recognize, okay, you need to help your body with this, maybe he's missing the strong coffee or just a big hug, but
Yeah, that's actually
you are doing that.
what
right?
I'm doing. Yeah, I'm giving feedback to the leaders, to the managers, if I should do that. But I believe most of the time, I just give the simple question like, did you do anything about it? If you have a problem, did you tell the leader, your colleague? So, because if I would be responsible for taking action with every person, I couldn't handle it.
Yeah, maybe some confidentiality issue.
Yeah, but the best thing is to teach those people to take care for themselves.
Are people open to you?
Don't know why, but yeah, that comes naturally.
And are you doing some motivation as well?
If you are doing motivation, now we do have some workshops when there's somebody really inspiring. We do invite some guests to our company as well for something like this. We call it Couch Talk. So we have a person and we get inspired. So yeah.
Like, you know, like what do you do to ensure that everybody is committed to the thing that they're doing right now? Well, when you see that somebody, I don't know, it's in a bad mood and it has effect on his efficiency.
That's a tough question. Like, what do we do to keep people inspired and motivated? That's a lot of things that need to be in place.
Any book.
Yeah, that's many books.
That's one title.
If there's one, I will think if there's one that I would advise you. But again, it's first of all, it's about understanding the person, because you know he can have a relationship problem, he can have a problem with the work that he's doing, lack of sleep, anything. That's a big topic.
Isn't it more work for therapists?
Yeah, I love psychology. Yes. Yeah, sometimes yes. There are some moments when I see that okay, I cannot help this person because he has some more difficult issues, like also like with psychology, where a psychologist would help, and I can advise the person to meet someone like that. But usually it's work related, or you know. About the team. So usually it's not that they would need some really psychological help. I mean that's fully okay. I'm a person who was attending a psychologist. It was amazing. I think every person should do that in his life at least once.
If I can just make a general comment, being on both sides here, I mean, without a doubt, this is the thing that Sli.do is a fine example for, is the success of building the right culture. And part of that, even in the very early days, that I think people need to realize is you can't just not be happy with culture and bitch about it and complain and expect that it's going to get better, because culture is you and everyone else in your company. So making exactly this transparency and openness part of the fact that if you don't like something, you can change it. It's up to you to set the standard, and then that's it, standards. And you are the 5 people that you spend time with, and happiness is not finite. It's something that needs constant maintenance. So even if you have a great team, but that team is only about having fun or only about going out for beers, that's not true happiness. So having a team that actually does push you and pushes in a positive way that you can be better is really important, and that is the culture at Sli.do, that of course the standards are high.
Yeah, people sometimes think that being happy is that that everything is fine, everything is working well. But our experience is, for example, when we had a downtime on Sli.do, like everything broke down. There were events online, like imagine a 3,000 people event. Somebody is presenting with Sli.do and they're like, okay, what's going on? And so they start chatting. You like, what's going on? And during those times, when, for example, even we people at the HR and the developers took our computers and started chatting because there were like thousands of chats incoming. Those were the good times that really put us together, even despite that it was tough. So not only happy clappy, but this is also the true happiness. Have you ever broken confidentiality between you and colleague for the sake of the company? I shouldn't say if I did. I think I did. No, I don't know of any, because if usually a person tells me, I ask, should I tell this to the CEO or not? And he tells me no, then I stay quiet. What do you say? Biggest failure on the job. Oh yes, my biggest. It's a funny story. But the people like to remember this. I was the time when I was working with clients. I was on chat, and it was my chat number 1000. And a person asked me about some infographic, and I was responding to that person, and I didn't write it correctly. Infographic. There was the red line underneath the word, so I clicked it. There were some options, and I just quickly clicked an option. So okay, and I sent it to that person. And then I was reading, and it was like, you can find this pornographic. And it was a nice lady from the US, and she was like, excuse me? So this chat is well known in the company. Every time I go to the support and I help them with chats, everyone is like, it's gonna do it again with those pornographics. Yeah, but this one was a funny thing. But I don't know. Every one of us has some failures, does mistakes. I'm also dealing a lot with the cash flows, so there were also some mistakes when I bought something that I shouldn't. Not so happy. But we try not to punish people by mistakes like this. I give them a chance if it's not really an evil deed. Do you offer office work, and how does it influence happiness of team and individuals? Yes, we do offer any kind of work. So even if you want to travel, we can speak about it. It's possible. Some people were supporting the clients and went traveling for vacation and during those times. So being on Bali or something like that. And how does it influence happiness? Well, usually well, but we also do try to. I'm not here because of that. But we also try to keep the people together. So in the company, for example, if I wasn't present, I wouldn't be able to do my job. So I try to be in the office as much as possible. But when I need to be at home because my son is sick or something, I'm allowed to do that. What would you recommend when it's working to live team spirit and happiness Virtual teams. Wow, this is a great question, because this is one of the toughest ones for us. We do have some remote people that are alone, and we were trying to think of something that could work, and we just found out two things that work for us. One is speaking with that person as often as possible, and not just one person, but the team, like really making them part of meetings, so they have that connection. And another thing that really worked for us is to, for example, we have in US, we have people in like 4 locations, and putting them together once a year is the best thing that you can do. Like they go for their own offsite for days, longer weekend, and that helps a lot. Really taking special care for people that are remotely or virtually. Thank you.